I knew it was coming. I've been dreading it, but it happened. And it still absolutely wrecked me. This was one of the best episodes of television that I have ever seen. Full stop, no questions asked. I don't mean this in a biased way, or at least I'm trying not to be, but the levels of visceral intensity, stomach churning gut punch, and raw emotion in this hour are simply unmatched. By the time it gets to the scene, my legs and hands were shaking. Of course, I knew it was going to happen, but it still hurts and makes me feel sick to my stomach all the same. Before I go any further, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. It would be a big help to the channel, and also feel free to check out my Letterboxd account where I am very active. As I stated in the previous video on The Last of Us Part 2 is my favorite video game of all time by far. One of the reasons it is my favorite video game is how emotionally impactful and devastating it is, partly because of Joel's brutal death. It still stands as probably the most emotionally impacted I have ever been by a fictional character's death, and the show doesn't change that impact at all. This was brutal to watch. It remains horrifically violent, shocking, and an intense way to start off a story. Bit of a spoiler warning, duh, but thankfully this will not be the last that we see of Pedro Pascal as Joel. We will see him later through certain important flashbacks. He's just so damn good in the role. Even when he does morally reprehensible things, he's just so likable, and it sucks to see him die like this. I'll get back to the golfing tournament later in the video because there are so many other things to talk about this episode. The mounting tension the entire episode was top-notch. From the opening Abby scene giving more hints as to what Joel did to her, and the scene where Abby is talking with her friends at the mansion, it gives an intense sense of dread that lasts for the entire hour runtime. And then it becomes a fairly one-to-one, albeit slightly abridged adaptation of the prologue of the game, with some significant differences as well. Jesse goes to wake up Ellie, and the conversation there is basically the same. Instead of Dina going along on the patrol with Ellie, Ellie goes with Jesse, and Joel is out with Dina while Tommy is defending Jackson. I honestly have no issue with any of these changes. We got the intimacy between Ellie and Dina in the previous episode, so they didn't need to repeat that with the weed den scene from the game, and then the show just lets the intensity of the situations and the infected horde take hold. And holy crap, the infected horde was just as grand and intense as I was hoping it would be. Abby running away from the initial horde with the fence coming down was some intense and beautifully filmed action. Joel rescuing Abby and getting essentially the same shot with the revolver was great. The Jackson battle was everything I hoped it would be. This battle was what Game of Thrones' final White Walker battle wished it was. I'm not even a hater of the Long Night episode, but this easily tops it. The town had strategy and plans for how to deal with a potential infected horde, and it seemed to work mostly, with unfortunate casualties and damage to the town, of course. Tommy taking down a bloater single-handedly was epic, and then they released the dogs as they wreak havoc on the infected. That was a great addition that I was not expecting. It was just so freaking good, man. Game of Thrones type undead, infected action filmed in a stunning snowstorm. There was one shot where it didn't seem like there was actually a snowstorm going on as Dina and Joel were running from the horde. That was a tad off-putting and strange, but other than that, I have zero nitpicks or even criticism of this episode. Next level television, a new red wedding, if you will. Before I get to the big moment, there's a small moment between Jesse and Ellie that I really appreciated. In the first episode, they cut away from Joel and Ellie's final conversation, and Ellie mentions this conversation with Jesse. I'm glad that they aren't showing this yet because it's just too important for the ending of the story and it wouldn't hit as hard without all of the flashback and current story context. So I'm glad that it is definitely coming at some point but not being shown just yet. But then, of course, we get to the scene. And it might be a little hard for me to talk about this just because it hurts so much to watch in both versions. Joel is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, and to see him be butchered in two different mediums now is still hard to talk about and watch. But Mark Mylod's directing is stellar. All of the performances incredible, and the emotion still made me sob like a child. They even stuck the knife in even more by not having Ellie be knocked out and have her crawl to Joel's lifeless corpse and hug him. That broke me. The whole sequence gave me a massive pit in my stomach, and to top it off, Ashley Johnson's rendition of Through the Valley plays in the final minutes of the episode, and that just makes the emotion hit even harder for me. Not only is this song perfect for the final sequence itself, but it's an amazing callback to the very first trailer of The Last of Us Part 2, and is sung by the original Ellie as well. I'm probably coming across as very scatterbrained in this review, but that's how I am right now. Completely traumatized once again, an emotional mess once again. Caitlin Dever is incredible in this entire episode. In a way, they may have made it a little bit more palatable for general audiences by giving away that Joel killed her dad already. It makes sense for a TV medium to do this, especially when we are more than likely not going to be getting Abby's perspective of the story until season 3. So I understand them putting this much earlier on so people understand what's going on. It's not a game where the whole story is given to you right from the beginning and you can play at your own pace. So I think it makes sense that they would do it this way. Bella Ramsey gives a heart-wrenching and guttural performance in those final moments that will surely get them an Emmy nomination, and there's still some more intense stuff Ellie has to do as a character later on that I'm sure Bella will just nail. The hate for Bella Ramsey on the internet right now is genuinely disgusting, and it makes me sick to be a human being. Some of the comments I've seen are horrifying to read. If you're acting like that, please go outside, get off the internet for a while, just stop. Get some freaking empathy for once. People really need to be more patient with TV shows that release weekly. People have been criticizing Ellie's behavior from the first episode, and to be honest, I don't really understand it too much as of right now, but Ellie's behavior will become much more serious and her demeanor will become so much darker. I feel like they made her a tiny bit more lighthearted. I say a little bit lighthearted because she really wasn't, but I don't want to rant about that. That's a topic for another day. To juxtapose her behavior later on in this season and make it more devastating. And generally, I have no notes on this episode. Just absolutely incredible storytelling, writing, acting, and directing. I'm at a bit of a loss for words. I'm probably going to be recovering from this episode for more than a week. It just hurts. That'll be all from me for this week of The Last of Us Season 2. I'll see you for Episode 3. Remember to hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, check out my Letterboxd, and endure and survive.
If it is to be said, so it is.